Hi, my name is Rocco Massarelli. Whoever would like to chat with me after this video, um, they can message me through Skype at Metatron FIORE 444 Metatron Fiore 444, which is the Italian for flower. I'm here to talk to you about the latest about Doreen Virtue and how she converted into Christianity without knowing the angels. So it so seems that Doreen must have been considered at some point a leading spiritual figure of them all, because a lot of people are feeling resentful for the way that she came across and the way that she saw Jesus, as it were the only person who saw it, him in the entire universe, as if no one else may have had a different experience in the way that they perceive Jesus. And actually, when I started to hear that she was getting baptized, I saw, because I was a priest in my past life and I remember certain things no matter what people say. And I saw that she wasn't entirely specific in the way that she received the anointment, and she wasn't entirely true to herself while she was being baptized in this river or ocean that she was baptized into. And first of all, you don't get baptized because you see Jesus. You get baptized because you were born and raised a Christian, which is something that you've always sworn that you were, because she keeps repeating in her videos that she is a Christian and she was raised a Christian. And although a lot of these things that she put around were actually really targeted to be as if she was the Immaculate Conception herself, meaning anyone who uses, kind of like in terrorism sometimes, anyone who uses, this is intellectual terrorism, and it doesn't kill people the same way that Muslims do, which aren't true Muslims, but the way that they do these times in history. But it can kill people spiritually, making them fall from the pedestal that she made everyone, including myself, maybe feel on. So when you are watching one of Doreen Virtue's videos, you must realize that Doreen's family, not that I know them personally in this life, but they are of these cult, we could say, Christian Science, which in per se contains the word Christian. So Christian means that at some point of their lives, someone in Christian Science must have connected to Jesus, whether at the very specific location of Doreen's house, or at Doreen's church, or seeing the same Jesus that Doreen saw at a different level that wasn't only entirely visual, but was also with the audio part. And when you see Jesus but don't listen to what he says, it's like a double-edged sword that you cut yourself with, and it's at some point is a spiritual karakiri that she went through, and some sort of spiritual suicide that she committed. Not that this would have repercussions on her daughter-in-law or herself in terms of obviously physical suicide, because I can guarantee that I didn't see this in her future by the way I look at the cards that she publish. But when one renounces at that late, in quotes, age, and they renounce angels in order to please God or Jesus, then you must have a pretty fucked up brain. And it's not about being offensive or not. It's about being offensive to the ones that followed you, and then these people kind of send back that negative energy onto you the way that they can. I was watching shortly before publishing this video a mindset by a spiritual teacher that I don't recall her name. She was drawing cards connecting to the energies of the universe, of which God and the angels are a modest part of, and Satan is part of as well. And then connecting to these, she foretold how this decision was going to be, or is, the Ten of Swords. Now, the Ten of Swords in traditional tarot means self-defeat, because you see a man that's stabbed in the back. So it must make me think that it's someone with negative intellectual, again, intentions, perhaps her mother or a friend or someone she doesn't know, maybe, that has tried to subtly manipulate her to the point that she renounced all that she could put herself into, and she renounced everything that she could ever believe in, and she even renounced the way that people can have, according to what I'm watching, what I'm hearing, people's opinions and stuff. She's even renounced to spreading the option of personally connecting to the so-called Jehovah, or the what people call in spiritual Satanism the fictitious Nazarene, meaning the one who comes from Nazareth, which is something that a lot of people in Christianity don't even know where New York City is. Perhaps then it gives, when Satan gives his exotic touch, it's because it makes you think of these things that are usually commonplace, but people don't think of. And I started to doubt Doreen when I saw herself being associated to what they call Bob Larson, who is a priest that, or better, a pastor that interviewed Zena LaVey and Nicholas Schreck in the 1980s, when he wasn't yet ordained as pastor. And as lost sheep, Nicholas and Zena, which is a very beautiful name, Zena is, they faced this confrontation with Bob, and it came to me that what these two people were putting on the table was far greater spiritually, that besides their disconnection with Jesus, that was going to be the obvious fall down, than in Christian terms. But then they chose to let him be, and whatever experience he's made out of it, I could certainly sense that there was lust present on the side of Bob, in general terms, that he was being captured or fascinated by some aspects of Pan or the devil. So, meaning some kind of fertility god that was sort of obsessively taking his soul out of context, and in order to perhaps block his, we want to call it a spiritual career that was otherwise very successful in terms of exorcism because he was responsible for delivering about, I think in total could be 5,000 or something like that. Then it's also a matter of keeping that flock under Jesus' name in Christian terms, and not going around to label people's paths and creations because you are the only one who can. Jesus said that one can accomplish even greater missions, say that she and her mother did, and that must be true somehow to some of us, to relate to that kind of philosophy when even Satan would consider it intellectually challenging to the point that one can be above God easily, because Jesus is God, because he's part of the Trinity. And this is when Jesus and Satan meet in the Bible, when Jesus says you are like gods. And he also says that on spiritual matters I will not have you be ignorant. And then there's other things that Jesus says, and he also says that Bob Larson is going to be the new Mary, or that Bob Larson ate from the apple of knowledge, or that his career is somehow tainted. Now already that a Satanist can approach Bob's energy like I'm doing right now and experience it, then it's already some kind of energetic trap that Bob cannot resist. Because when you usually would try to convert the righteous into the left wing, say, then it would not be possible. If, as Satanist, if I see someone walking around from the priesthood or a nun, and I see that they're truly holy, now this has become a rare fact these days, but if they're like my bracelet, hope you can see it, Forever Nature, then pan is left, and then I'm not putting myself all in the middle, because that's not even the style that Lucifer would adopt in such a situation. Just because, as Saint Cipriano in Italian, Cyprian maybe, from Cyprus perhaps, and then the way that he approached sanctity was through going was via black magic, meaning that he was a black mage. At some point he was performing a spell on someone, and it was going to be a love spell, and it was going to be with being him basically Satanist. He tried to call upon the devil, but he saw that he wasn't gaining the usual results that he would normally get to using those names and the archetypes, so to speak. So he tried to see which other archetype psychologically was blocking the victim of someone's love from being loved. And it wasn't going to be that love that lasts forever and stuff. So that person, it's said, had Jesus in her heart. So he understood that there was a wall between him and that result, that he decided altogether to at once drop, kind of like that Shakespeare's novel, I think it's, I'm not sure if it's the 12th Night or something like that, or the Tempest maybe. I think it's the Tempest, when that magicians from Milan, Italy renounces magical arts, which is something that is as close to drama as it could get for someone who's touched spirit personally and knows how to handle it. Now, because we are at some point all connected, through the energies of the universe, then it's not just about masturbating the idea of the cross that makes you stand up on your 2 or 4 feet. I'm talking about referring to Bob's and to other people perhaps that go behind him. So when that thing happens, when someone like an exorcist or someone like a prostitute, like it's the case of Mary Magdalene and that saint that I quoted, that I might include in the text of the underscore of this video, but I might not. So Jesus taught that it was possible to get to any position as soon as one could. In Jesus' terms, it was that being only with Jesus, you must not sin with an open mind. But mixing these two theories together, white and black magic, you can actually, if you have the power to do so, be in a life that's not spiritual at first. See, my parents are both journalists, and they are atheists now, but just like Bob was a journalist and then he becomes this priest that all the ladies love because it's a straight concept, then just like God gave him the opportunity to be a priest even though he wasn't born one, and even though I doubt that all the people who voted for him voted in a cohesive tough mode, but isn't the Holy Mary connected to the element of water, and isn't that water that gives life, the water of God, Jehovah, the same water that melts someone's heart? So under that perspective, everything is clear, and under that perspective, everything is meticulous. So again, you have to see Doreen not like a natural born saint of some kind, but you should see her as people see Mary Magdalene, or people see Saint Cipriano, or people see other saints that had ludicrous life or the opportunity for it. So like Felicita and Perpetua, the 2 Roman saints who were who prefer to be killed rather than being rather than renouncing their faith, kind of like what happened with the witches in the Middle Ages, if you think about it. Rather than giving up the healing arts, they were crucified by people that back in the time pastors weren't pastors because Protestants weren't born. And Martin Luther certainly was the leading authority of the Protestant Church, because he was the one who started it all, and Rome didn't like it to the point that they were going to burn him as an heretic. And this is what us people of Rome thought of Bob's religion before Druid and Afric came to be, because some people foresaw it, and they foresaw it to the point that no one dared those who practice witchcraft to help God to stop it, because God was going to be just the next fuck model for us, and he was going to be just the one who was going to die physically if he was a human right now as we speak these words of torment, because he never asked these people openly. He never went down there to perform a miracle, because that would have ruined the aesthetics of Moses or some shit. And he never performed a miracle on these people who even were condemned to death while practicing Christian magic. And there were nuns that the witches dressed as ebony witches, and they were put on the stake because, like Dracula put on the stake people, and they were put on the stake because one of them actually was on it. Because we were going to testify Jehovah that he just wasn't there for us, just like in the same way that he wasn't there for anyone. And these witches have, meaning these nuns, have reincarnated because they believed that that they were absolutely, that we were true. I wasn't burned, but nor was I openly reachable. Not even if I had a mobile, Satan would have texted me and he would have said, "Please go away. I've got other things to do today than killing you." So he focused on killing others, but I'm sure that something is ringing in people's brain right now, that we are starting to reveal things the way that they are, that there's, for the way I would see this if my soul wasn't in Lucifer's hands, so maybe the way that I'll see this in the future is that the church, and meaning what we call spiritual leaders of the monotheistic faiths, strictly, meaning rabbis and imams and pastors and stuff, sheep, and the ways that we elaborate a little more deeply in witchcraft, because we were always meant to be more than these people, just like Lucifer was always meant to be more than Saint Michael. No matter how hard you try to curse somebody, that potential remains the same. And for that much that people can see through Lucifer's eyes, then they can see his soul. And his soul wasn't really cursed until he was purified. And so right now you've got some serious consequences coming when you say these things about Satan or Saint Michael. People have got their mind put together because someone else spoke about it or someone else shared a point of view that was just a point of view. But what I'm going to tell you today isn't a point of view, but it is possible to match needs of people in the church and people who in that lifetime practice witchcraft, especially if they practice a type of magic that Moses practiced, and that's called divine magic, which he clearly showed to the people of Egypt, who were not stupid, and they were very keen on magic to begin with, and they tried to stop him from going around and saying these things that he used to say about slaves being corrupted, and about Jesus being safe in Israel, and about Mary being better than his mother who tried to assassinate him. And finally, when he closed these things in a shot, they aren't worth shooting at. So Jehovah, through Moses, was just trying to point out how, and in universal terms this might be true, Lucifer would certainly know it if you know, he would be able to come physically on earth or just spiritually. And a lot of things are not clear in the Bible. My point is that the Bible was mistranslated, because this is what I've got from the devil these days. And it wasn't entirely rewritten, of course, because people wouldn't have had the association between those lines and the Bible. And the Bible is The Bible is some type of idea. Bible is some type of idea that we all share, and it's some type of idea that we must deny if we aren't sheep, if we're lions. You know, the temple of Ishtar in Babylon had lions all over it. This was before Christ took on that symbol to write it, and certainly with great success, as he was slain by Judas, so one of his tribe. So when you live in a tribe, it's just a matter who's got the longer or longest teeth of them all. And when a life ends like that, and when it's God dying, certainly it is Lucifer who reigns on earth. And certainly he did not bow down on him, but he did when he was dead, and his spirit was still living. So it's just a matter of posing things in the wrong way or in the right way. And when the devil is made king for a day, then certainly a lot of things happen in the world. And if you ever watched the movie Falling Down, then it has truth in it. But let me shorten my speech to what I wanted to say. My first point is that Doreen Virtue shouldn't have converted into Christianity in the way she did. If she never received baptism in this life, I'm sure she could have pondered things better to understand that it's all the same thing. New Age and Christianity, or magic and Jesus, or all these things of spirit matched together to the point that they can, but they're not two separate realities. So by making them two separate realities now, though, it's easier to pull them together into one. So one would have wished beforehand perhaps that she wouldn't have killed herself over it to such an extent, but now that she did, especially on a mental term, now that she's mental, she certainly knows what's the difference about a husband who lets you do these things and a husband who supports your career fully, as she's always had these men before Michael Mass came, and they could certainly play that piano a whole lot better than he can keep it, if you know what I'm talking about. So when a woman is not satisfied sexually, as one cannot be satisfied as a woman with 4.5 inches, then you certainly, even though these things exist, these men who are around today, they've got such an enthusiasm for pussy that they can throw it around everywhere, and the other party's happy, especially if it's Doreen's daughter. But now that I'm closing up, my second point is that Doreen isn't ready for the success that she gave to all these people who are tragically not understanding where she's coming from in the end, but they are needed in terms to elevate her to the point that she is a very loved woman, including by Michael, who sometimes comes to us as a double meaning between who would you rather fuck. But Michael luckily isn't a fallen angel, but whoever want to go with the incubi and succubi certainly can. I'm sorry if I mix some Italian vowels with some Anglo-Saxon ones, but that's just to give you the idea that everyone is shocked and everyone is like an orphan now without Doreen, and everyone is out of place to a certain point. But like someone said, I put her video up on my Facebook page, and perhaps you might find its link right below. It's an Afro-American woman who's understood the things of God as a woman being the wife of a pastor, and if I understood correctly, either the daughter or granddaughter of another one. It's perhaps the granddaughter. But then Doreen should have pondered the decision better. Doreen should have followed her heart. Doreen should have associated angels to God and ego to Satan. Doreen shouldn't have left out all his fan base so abruptly. And Doreen shouldn't have used sex, whether implicit or explicit, as a way of seducing people onto or out from her egoless business. So now that she's got a whole lot of work to do, and she needs no prayers for that, now one wonders who can check up on these things that she's produced. And I decided to use Diana Cooper's unicorn cards, as she is absolutely spot on with whichever topic that entails the personal choices of Doreen firsthand. So I will just start a shuffle. For those of you who haven't bought it, I highly recommend it, because you can't recommend Doreen's cards anymore. So this is her unicorn cards. I have Doreen's unicorn cards too, and I have no displeasure in using them even right now. But point is that these it's simply the aesthetics of them that's a bit too modern for me. But worldwide, I'd say that right now this is the second choice for a unicorn deck, although she's a greater expert in unicorns than Doreen is, having studied them more profoundly. Although Doreen might know more, she's not putting it out. So unicorns are a symbol for purity and asexuality, meaning non-sexuality. So we're asking obviously about Doreen's latest change. So we've got surprise, and surprise says look for the unexpected today. So she was going out for a thrill, in other words. And then Archangel Uriel, which is one of Lucifer's substitutes, is like a plate teacher, and for God, Archangel Uriel is dressed kind of like the same way as Raphael, but what she wanted to put out is that he is intensively intelligent, and he's very holy, because it's with that idea, that intuition, that one reconnects the two worlds, no matter how successful. So the card says become a peace ambassador, and the unicorn that's run on the right seems to be saying, I'll wait for you. So if we look at the eyes of this wonderful beast, he's certainly waiting on another leader of the archangels, which is going to be the topic of my the book that I'm writing, that's called in Italian Celestial Lucifer, translated as, I think, because that would be literal. So we've got surprise and Archangel Uriel, so the light of God, from the word you are, ur, which means kind of like in Arabic, Nur means either a door or light, I'm not sure, but each door opens onto a light usually, unless it opens onto a fall from a cliff. But then again, isn't that what got Metatron the highest position of them all in the sky today? So whichever door you open, be certain to know that all doors lead to Rome in the end, which is the home of the Vatican. if you want to be a Christian. If you don't, you can, as I've said before, experience the depths of hell in order to become even more holy by chance, because this is what a lot of people who go to jail these days experience when they get out. They experience a strange interest in the Bible and other suspicious factors that definitely put them on the deranged position of getting a day job, which is something that Doreen abhorred months ago, and now she's probably getting herself onto, because I don't see how she would deserve all of the richness that she's got from the devil. Then she either throws it away or she gives it away. So I would personally, as someone who is homosexual, go with give it to somebody else type of deal, but then you must not be perverted in order to understand the teachings of anyone who's spoken about her was fueled up by enthusiasm. Now, if that was someone else's mistake, and this is not about her health directly, but I'm sure that it will be throwdown for her, because in the Bible, and I will say more in the next video, in the Bible there's people who talk, and there's people who do, and there's people who fuck. So, and there's people who don't, and they weren't included directly. So, and then they do. Possibly there will be another Bible, because the Bible that you buy today has been altered and never corrected by anyone who Job has ever summoned unto him, because he thought that Lucifer was going to withdraw certain plans or do certain things, and Jehovah was seduced by the promises of the devil that you could not turn them down. In this way, God isn't God, except for the fact that he is. So, when the Bible talks about homosexuality, lesbianism, there's people who die in Iran or other Muslim countries like Saudi Arabia and shit, and then they all go on their jihad to cleanse themselves of having had sex with their wives, and you know, Satan's got 5, and then Muslims have got 4, but then we've got Doreen. So I just leave it as that, and then you go figure what's the next big deal that the Bible misinterprets from Doreen's videos. So and she's not shown herself to the public, so it's hard to read her energy. But I want to draw a further card from Diana's deck to see what she thinks about this. And Diane Kelly Edwards is going to play the perfect note from the latest horse tale that she's done. Then I'm getting freedom. Let the unicorn set you free. So it's a strong recommendation. I'm getting flight. Let your creative imagination fly. So it's she's strongly being redirected towards her number 15 by chance. Her intuition that is leading her to understand what does she eventually need. There's an extra one coming out, just like the ones that pop out and you don't know what they're telling you. Now hell is at hand, so she should go, and especially because she doesn't do psychotherapy anymore to other people, she should go see a healer of some sort. In this case, I'd rather go with the doctor first, just because you don't know what kind of spirit might jump on her in terms of what understanding of subtle things she has right now. So I'll let you meditate on this whole package, and remember that Bob Larson is King Young. Hail Satan.